anything.
Militant group said yesterday that President Trump seems fire still wants to thank drones as well. Thanks for being here. Seems like it would be a serious step forward. Can be.
Please, you have in 800 feet, turn left on the U.S. Yes, you're right. Please, you have major from Egypt. Turn left onto Hewlett Street. And then, of course, always recurring formulation. All signing on to the base of 20,000. In a quarter mile, turn left onto Maple Street. All signing on to the basic principles of this plan to end the war. Now, the basic element of this plan is not a new one. Hamas has said it's going to return all hostages living dead within 72 hours. Then Israel is supposed to stop its war in Gaza, and then Israel, the U.S., and Arab countries, working with Palestinian leaders, figure out what they have. What is new is there's been so much. Stop sign. Turn left on the Maple Street. What is new is there's been so much pressure on the side, and that has created this potential breakthrough. And a person briefed by an official told the church that Israel's military has been able to reduce their activity in Gaza to quote, a minimum of only 4 defensive actions. On Maple Street for 1.5 miles. And in fact, in Gaza and even there for the entirety of this war since it was shelling that continued overnight. There were at least 3 strikes this week. Israel's military is in the process of the strips in the market sector is still in I remember this week it was the last chance anyone who recognizes militant. And I want to sound a note of caution. There's still a chance that this proposal falls apart. So Hamas has come back and said they accept the first phase, but officials with Hamas have said they need more details on the exact timetable and process for how and when Israel will withdraw from Gaza, and when Israel would let more food and aid in. And then there's the big question of who governs Gaza. Under the American International Board of Experts that would be headed by President Trump and includes the former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, would initially run the enclave. And Hamas would have no role at all. But let's listen to this interview that was done with London, a senior Hamas official who was to Al Jazeera last night. So Pumpkin says here Hamas will not accept the affairs of Gaza to be run by a non-Palestinian party. And then he went on in this interview to say Hamas is fundamental to the issues facing any future Palestinian state. And that all clashes with the U.S. and Israeli assertions that Hamas would have no presence should leave. Earlier this week, another Hamas official, Mohammed Nasser, also told Al Jazeera the group is not reviewing this American plan with both black or white mindset. So they very much see this proposal as a work in progress and not a final agreement. And the question is now whether the U.S. and Israel can accept or perhaps even ignore for now these proposed revisions for Hamas and move forward to at least the first step to get a peace.
How is Hamas' response being received?
There's cautious optimism. Israel's main opposition leader says he backs the proposal as well. Many of the families of the hostages have been lobbying for an end to the war for months so they can release the hostages and get them back. They've lent their support for this first phase of the proposal, but there's so much distrust, including a word that Hamas is stalling for time. Officials in October say in order to exhume some of the hostages' bodies, they need more than 3. In a quarter mile, slight right onto Hangdog Lane. And just bodies, they need more than the 3 days that have been allocated to retrieve these people's bodies in the war zone.
Unbelieving and Tel Aviv, thanks.
Thanks, God.
It's day 4 of a government shutdown.
Slight right onto Hangdog Lane.
It's day 4 of a government shutdown, and since Tuesday, the Senate has taken up
continue for 3 months.
Votes to fund the government temporarily by continuing the resolution.
They still don't have the votes, but is there an agreement even on the distant horizon? Your congressional correspondent Barbara Spring.
Okay, thank you.
The Senate yesterday failed once more to advance heating plans and federal funding. How are those plans different?
Well, one is a GOP plan that has already passed the House. It would fund the government through November 21st. And then there's a Democratic counterproposal as well. That would fund the government through October, and it includes an extension of healthcare tax credits that were boosted up during the pandemic. Those are on track to expire at the end of the year. Now, Republicans have said they'll negotiate on that point, but only after the government is funded. And even then, Senate Majority Leader John Thune has said it would not be a simple process.
We can't make commitments or promises on the COVID subsidies because that's not something that we can guarantee that they're the votes there to do.
There were a few Democrats who
school plays
supported
went
the
dark.
Republican proposal.
This atom not on
Been any more
WhatsApp.
movement? Or
This
the
atom
numbers
was.
No, they are not. It
This
has
atom
been the same as that first
came
vote
out
where we
blurry.
saw 2 Democratic senators
No one
and
could
1
help. But
independent
this atom
joining
sent an HD
Republicans.
photo on WhatsApp.
In fact, there's been
Let's
so
go.
little movement on any kind of negotiation between the two parties that the Senate isn't even expected to stay over the weekend and do more votes. Here's Thune yesterday when asked about the possibility of weekend work.
Hopefully over the weekend, they'll have a chance to think about it. Maybe some of these conversations start to result in something to where we can start moving some votes and actually get this thing passed.
The impasse is essentially this. Because the Senate needs Democrats to reach that 60-vote threshold to pass this kind of bill, Democrats, who of course have very little power as the party in the minority, say that demanding that there be some kind of negotiations between the two parties is appropriate. Unsurprisingly, Republicans do not share that view. They say Democrats are holding the American people hostage to the shutdown.
In the meantime, the White House seating plans and programs and spending. Often it seems in areas of lots of Democratic votes. What is the argument they make here?
Well, this is very much in line with the administration's thesis when it comes to its role in cutting programs and government workers. Items on the chopping block include some transportation projects in New York, the home state of both the House and Senate Democratic leaders. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told our colleague Steve Inskeep yesterday that the administration views that as Minority Leader Chuck Schumer's fault.
They can't show up to work right now, so that project is currently temporarily halted because of Chuck Schumer's shutdown. So Chuck Schumer did that to himself. He did that to his constituents in New York.
And how do Democrats respond?
Well, Democrats have called this an intimidation tactic. They've blasted a plan from the White House's budget arm to fire federal workers instead of temporarily furloughing them, which is usually what happens in a shutdown. Independent Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont said he thinks that plan will backfire.
And the idea that you have a president who says, hey, your state voted against me, we're going to cut funding for you. That is not only illegal, not only outrageous, it is unconstitutional.
So Democrats like Sanders insist these cuts are illegal, but it's an open question right now. There are several active lawsuits challenging the administration's cuts to congressionally approved spending.
And here's Barbara Spring. Thanks so much for all your reporting.
Thank you, Scott.
We're in a federal government shutdown over Affordable Care Act tax credits.
Meanwhile, state governments are beginning to make cuts to their Medicaid programs. That's the public health insurance that covers more than 70 million Americans.
Those cuts are likely to continue regardless of how the